internal, right? It's something that's internal. It's an entire belief. So is it possible that apply both? Yes, I think both definitely can and do apply here. What other types of purity are there? So we said that they're physical and they're spiritual. So how does this extend into, does it extend to other parts of our life or no? Okay, so in our relationships, like being pure in our relationships, okay, and it should being honest in our relationships. Good, I think that's an excellent point. What's interesting here is that even the word wudu is, he says here, أصل الوضوء من وضاء وهي الحسن والنظافة. So he says here that it is not just cleanliness, but it's also appearance, right? So good appearance and cleanliness, both of these, like the asl of wudu comes from that, which I found really interesting, because
just looking good in general,
right,
like being taken care of.
Absolutely. So being well groomed,
Yeah.
right? Being well groomed, presenting oneself well, like all of these are something that it's really important, and is something that's very much a part of the deen. Even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the fitra, or the things that have to be maintained or cleansed, or what are those things? Cutting the nails, right? Plucking the armpit hairs, trimming the mustache, shaving the private areas, right? These are all different things that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam recommended, because they're all part of personal grooming. Using the siwak. All right, so in using the siwak, we had mentioned before, basically brushing your teeth, right? Like cleaning your teeth, oral hygiene. This is something that's really important to keep in mind. And
he said, like, if I'm not mistaken, if it was in a mushkil, I would recommend from before each prayer to use a swab.
Yeah. لو أمرت, I said لولا أشق على أمتي لأمرتهم لأمرتهم بالسواك عند كل صلاة. Right, I would have ordered, had it not been a difficulty, I would have ordered my ummah to do siwak before every prayer. And even the word tahara, right? So tahara, the essence of that, it comes from purity, which is something that's really important. Most of the Lugawi scholars, according to what Imām al-Nawawī mentions here, is that that when you talk about wudu, it actually talks about, it means the action. There are different ways to say it. So what's interesting is wudu is the action of, like, that purifying, right? Or ablution, as called in English. Wudu is the water itself. So there are different ways to present this, and there are different ways to talk about that. But this idea of something, this idea of purity, is something that is really important, really something fundamental to the deen. And then he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he goes on to say, "Walhamdulillah yamla al-mizan," that, saying all praises for Allah fills up the mizan. And it's an easy way to fill our scales with good deeds. Wa subhanallah walhamdulillah yamla'ani, or yamla ma bayna samawati wal ard. And subhanallah and alhamdulillah, these fill up between what is between the heavens and the earth, right? So it's a way to talk about the effect of the blessings of these terms, and like we said, when we say them, like how these blessings can be so fulfilling and how much that blessing can spread. Was salatu nur, and he said that salah is a light, right? And we had talked about the difference between nur and liya, that nur is something that emanates light from itself, and liya is something that reflects light. Was sadaqa burhan, that sadaqah, it guides and it shows the way. Was sabr diya, and patience is a light, like we said, a reflective light. Wal Quran hujjatun lak aw alayk, and that the Quran is either approved for you or against you. Kullu nasi yaghdu, that everyone sets out in the morning. Faba'i nafsu, and he sells himself. Famu'tiqiha aw mubiqiha, and either he will be set freed or he will be punished. Right. And in this hadith, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously he mentions a number of different actions. And what's interesting about all these actions is, are any of them particularly difficult? Right? So he's basically saying that stay clean, right? Stay clean, and not just physically stay clean. Keep your tongue pure by mentioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Zikr.
Yeah, making these adhkar. These things are very important. And not just that, the dhikr, it benefits you in the next world and in this world, right? It benefits you in the next world because it makes the scale heavy, and it benefits you in this world because it spreads barakah and blessing. Salatul Nur, that, and this idea of salah, it being a light in and of itself, why is that important? And why did he sallallahu alaihi wasallam describe salah as nur? What does nur do? What does light do?
Right.
Right, it brightens, it shows the way. If I don't know, if I don't understand, if something's unclear, if something's dark, what do I do?
Turn on the light.
Right, I turn on the lights. And it's the same thing with salah. If something is unclear, something I'm unsure of, what is the prayer that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered us with? Salat al-istikhara. So he sallallahu alaihi wasallam orders us with istikhara, and again, is to help us make decisions and to help lighten the way. He also says was sadaqa burhan, and that sadaqa is a burhan. It's something that helps clarify, meaning that when I give money, it gives me clarity also, but clarity in what?
I mean, I know that giving money prevents from, Allah's order.
Sure.
From different
Absolutely.
But this is the first time I'm hearing prevent.
Right. So sadaqa al-burhan, it gives clarity.
I know it clears your, your wealth as well.
Sure, it cleans your wealth. Yeah, it cleanses your wealth. Absolutely. What else? So when I give money to others, how does my view on that wealth change? Versus if I just held on to it.
Stinginess goes up.
All right, stinginess goes up. Why? So yeah, like you become less stingy, right? You actually start enjoying giving money. So the question is like, okay, this burhan and this clarity that you're given, what clarity? Clarity in what?
That's what I'm having fun. Clarity in what?
In the actual value of money, right? When you give money away, right, it's actually decreasing, right? Like before I had $100 and now I have $90. So it actually went down. But the value in my heart, what happened? For the money.
No.
It decreases, right? My connection with that money.
Oh, you mean like connection to the money?
Yeah, my connection to that money actually decreases, and because I'm less connected emotionally to that money, what happens to my decisions?
More clear, not
because I'm going to make clear decisions because I'm going to worry less whether it's there or not. Right. So I alhamdulillah, I think it's a very nice point. وَالصَّبْرُ ضِيَاءٌ. And it's interesting how he sallallahu alaihi wasallam talks about sabr in this reflective light.
That's the one, like sabr as a reflective light.
Yeah. Because it will allow me to see what's in front of me. Because where should the light be emanating from? From me, right? In the moment, if we talk about sabr as an idea, as a concept, we had said that sabr is very much like emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Understanding how to
react when the calamity.
How to what?
React.
How to react and respond. And this type of light is?
So when it has
It's reflective.
It's to reflect. That makes sense.
Right? So because something strikes you, like, and the thing is, if I absorb the light, who benefits?
If you absorb the light.
It's like a black hole. Like the light, it just sucks it in, and what happens to it? Nothing. Right? It doesn't. But if I reflect that light, the person in front of me can also benefit and can also see. So I think, wallahu alam, I think the metaphor works nice in that way. And he says, "Well, Quran hujjatun laka aw alik," meaning that the Quran is either a proof for you or against you. In what way?
Against you, the Quran being against you.
Yeah.
So I mean, the benefits we already know. There's against you meaning.
If you didn't follow its commands, right? It's a proof for you if you follow its commands, and a proof against you if you disobey them and don't follow them. And then here, he says, "Kullu nas yaghdu," that everyone sets out in the morning. and he sells himself, or he puts himself up for sale. Everyone. And he says that from those people, they're able to free themselves, and from those they are captured.
He's talking about the Fajr, I guess, right?
Well, not necessarily Fajr, right? Because look at all the things before it, right? It's talking, what are all of these? These are all different deeds, right, that a person can do to draw near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So basically he's saying that if I want to be successful in my transactions, what do I need to do in my spiritual transactions? I need to do these things, right? I need to practice tahur, I need to practice adhkar, I need to make salah, I need to give sadaqah, I need to deal with people, right? Because sabr, can I show sabr without anything? Sabr has to be reactive to a situation, to an individual, right? So meaning that I have to be out in public. So I have to learn how to deal with people, and I have to interact with them. I have to engage in the Quran, right? Why? So I can learn what is right and what is wrong. Can I use me not engaging in the Quran as an excuse? Oh, I didn't know stealing was wrong. That's not an excuse, right? Because why? Because I was obligated to go and learn. Like, this is something that's basic and fundamental. I have to go and learn it. So over here, an individual, he puts himself up for sale, and I can buy my freedom, meaning Jannah, with what? With all of this capital, right? All of this spiritual capital. This is what I can do. Or I can stay trapped. And it's amazing. Here, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he says, like, a person will stay chained and trapped, captured. Captured by what?
By your own nafs.
By your own nafs and your own desires. SubhanAllah. It's like, it's amazing how he describes freedom as things you have to do, right? It's a bit.
You should do, I guess.
Yeah.
You have to.
No, I mean, you have to pray, right? You have to pray. You have to do those things Allah commands. You have to stay away from those things that Allah prohibits, right? This is very clear.
You have to get your freedom, I guess.
Yeah. To get your freedom.
You have to do those.
Right. So in order for me to get freedom, I have to what? I have to
Work for it.
I have to not just work for it. I have to restrict myself. And in order to be restricted, I have to what? I have to free myself. Right? I don't put any limitations on that. So, like, it's just a lot of the metaphors and stuff over here, I thought they were very nice. The next hadith was the hadith of Ibn Umar. Yeah, go ahead.
Nawawī, right?
I'm sorry? Nawawī, yeah.
Nawawī, right? He's giving, or is it,
What?
description of all.
No, this is the Prophet ﷺ speaking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the Prophet ﷺ. This is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. This is him speaking, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next hadith, you have Ibn Umar. He was visiting Ibn Amir. I don't know, you remember the hadith? Ibn Amir was sick.
Yeah,
He said,
he's actually,
he said, Ibn Amir, he was like, can you make dua for me? And what did Ibn Umar say?
he reminded about all
he said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, لا تقبل الصلاة لا تقبل الصلاة بغير طهور, that prayer is not accepted except with purity. ولا صدقة من غلول, and sadaqah is not accepted from someone who takes from the war booty. And here Ibn Amr, he says, وكنت على البصرة, that I was the governor of Basra at the time. And he's the one there. He's the one who's narrating this hadith. And we had said that Ibn Umar, he didn't make dua for him. Why?
He didn't make dua.
He didn't. Right? He said, "Will you make dua for me?" So he said, "I heard the Messenger of Allah say that prayer."
Obviously, he was accusing him, or not accusing him, or I mean.
Yeah, he's straight up telling him.
That
He's like, "You are from the people."
who's taken from the war booty.
Yeah, who's been taken from the war booty. But what does this have to do with his request for salah? I mean, his request for dua.
What does that have to do with?
Yeah, how is that? What is he telling him here? In this hadith, where did Ibn Umar get, like, how is this a rejection of making dua for him?
I mean, he's just clearly telling him, I'm not going to make dua for you.
But why use this hadith? Why not just make any other hadith?
I mean, I think he knew exactly that he was taking it, so he just directly like just told it right in his face. And what else can I?
Sure. I think, and Allahu Alam, when he said that the second part, he said there's no sadaqah from the one who takes from the war booty. From sadaqah is making dua for another person. Is making dua for someone else. This is basically you giving them sadaqah, right? So he's like, you are from the people who take from the war booty, so I refuse to give you sadaqah.
So even though Umar is refusing to give him sadaqah,
yes,
dua is a sadaqah.
Yeah, so giving dua is a type of giving sadaqah.
Really?
Yeah, right. It's a benefit that you're giving someone else, right? You're helping someone else.
Instead of sadaqah, I mean, like,
Sadaqah, not in the charitable sense. Is it a kind act?
it's a kind act,
Right.
but
Ibtisam fi wajhi akhik, sadaqah. That smiling in your brother's face
that's
is
a kind sadaqah.
a sadaqah.
Then I guess sadaqah can be used in
Yeah, it's any charitable act, and a charitable act doesn't need to be.
it doesn't need to be, yeah.
It doesn't need to be money.
Removing shoes or there's
Absolutely.
anything or
Giving someone a ride.
someone a ride.
Yeah. And from those is making dua.
Dua is
Right? It's a charitable act that you're doing for someone. So he's saying here that I refuse to give you sadaqah. Why? Because you took, and the Prophet ﷺ said, there is no sadaqah. So over here is, subhanAllah, that there's no sadaqah from the person who is giving, or who takes from the war booty. But the Prophet ﷺ didn't say there's no sadaqah, you can't give the person who this is an understanding that Ibn Umar took away. That even if the person is taking from the war booty, he's not only is his sadaqah not accepted, he's not even eligible to receive it.
that makes sense.
Because I was like, it took me a minute. I was like, okay, why would he? You know, what I mean? Like, why would he respond in that way? But subhanAllah, yeah, I just thought. But wallahu alam, like I said last time, and I hope that this is the reason.
I mean, actually, in the smile of sadaqah, you're right.
Yeah.
You know, neither can dua is sadaqah, and you know, since you're taking, you're not eligible to take or give.
Give, yeah, and that's how he used it, right? Radiallahu an. But yeah, subhanAllah, it's really interesting to see how companions use the hadith, and how sometimes the initial understanding is like, what is the connection here? Like, what does this have to do with, you know, what he's saying? It's only after you actually sit and think of it.
Look at the logic and the ilm that he has.
Yeah.
He just, by just saying that, he just shoot one bullet.
He said a lot, but he didn't have to say anything himself. All he did, he just shared the hadith, and that's it. And wallahu alam, I think this is a sign of Ibn Amir's accepted tawbah, because, like I said, there's only one of two type of people who would share a hadith like this: either somebody who is remorseful, or somebody who is
humble,
or shameless. Right? Somebody who's completely shameless. And if he was shameless, I can't imagine the muhaddithin narrating this hadith, and even accepting and narrating the hadith.
Especially in Imām Muslim.
Yeah. But yeah, subhanallah. طيب قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى قال حدثنا محمد بن المثنى وابن بشار قال حدثنا محمد بن جعفر قال حدثنا شعبة وتحويل الإسناد وحدثنا أبو بكر بن أبي شيبة قال حدثنا حسين بن علي عن زائدة قال أبو بكر قال حدثنا وكيع عن إسرائيل كلهم عن سماك بن حرب بهذا الإسناد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بمثله. So over here you have similar chains of narration, but that do not mention the story. Right, so it just mentions this: لا تقبل الصلاة بغير طهور ولا صدقة من غلول. That prayer is not accepted except without purity, and that sadaqah is not accepted from the person who takes from the war booty. قال حدثنا محمد بن رافع قال حدثنا عبد الرزاق بن همام قال حدثنا معمر بن راشد عن همام بن منبه أخي وهب بن منبه قال هذا ما حدثنا أبو هريرة عن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فذكر أحاديث منها. So over here, what's interesting is the next hadith that Imam Muslim brings is that there's a series of hadith that Hamam ibn Munabbih narrates, and he very famously narrates on Abu Hurairah. So he was Abu Hurairah's student, he has a bunch of hadith from Abu Huraira. From those hadith that he narrated is this one. قال رسول الله لا تقبل صلاة أحدكم إذا أحدث حتى يتوضأ, that the prayer of one of you is not accepted if he breaks his wudu, and if something passes from the two private areas. حتى يتوضأ, until he makes wudu. So over here, if we look at this hadith, how many times do we have to make wudu? Or these are hadith in general? Yeah. Right. So I have to do something to cause me to make wudu, meaning that wudu stays for a time period, right? It stays for a certain time period until a certain action happens. And subhanAllah, I think this is from, I believe this to be from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine if he had you make wudu like every so often, right? It's like, no, your wudu needs to be repeated every hour. It'd be difficult, right? It'd be a hardship, it'd be a difficulty. And not just that, if I know I made wudu, and by the time the salah comes, do I need to doubt that? Right? So I know for sure I made wudu. I don't remember everything that happened in the middle. So what do? I go with what I was certain on, and that certainty was that I had made wudu. So it's very clear here how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this an ease. There's a joke. I know a lot of people, they like sharing this, as there was a guy who went to the bathroom to make wudu. It was in a Western bathroom. And the guy next to him, he looked over at him. He's like, how many times do you wash your feet? He's like, 5 times a day. And he was like, why? He's like, how many times do you wash your face a day? He's like maybe once. He's like, my feet are cleaner than your face. Allah musta'an. But I mean, obviously, it's not necessary that you're going to make wudu 5 times a day, right? I think average people make like 2, maybe 2, 3. Not sometimes the entire day.
On the wudu subject, I guess wiping.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, each masjid has its own, or do they have jumhur?
I'm sorry. Wiping over the socks?
Yeah.
No, there's khilaf. Yeah, there's a lot of khilaf. The Hanabila allow wiping over cotton socks. I think that's the only madhab that allows it. I think later Hanafis, some of them, they allowed it too. But the problem is like there are the narrations they have on Abu Hanifa wiping over socks. It's not directly, I don't think it can be for certain attributed to him, rahimahullah. So, I think there are some that kind of follow that. But what's interesting is Abu Hanifa, he had 2 very famous students, right? Abu Yusuf and Muhammad. He had a third student who was less famous, Zufr al-Hudhali. And we'll get to it, inshallah, we'll talk about it. He said that washing up to your ankles is recommended. Everybody else makes it a condition.
Everybody else what?
It's a condition. You have to wash.
Yeah.
Except who? Except the Shia.
So I know you have to wash up to the ankle.
So the Shia, you know what they do? They do mas on their feet, which isn't very different than Zufr's opinion. And I believe, let me go double check this, but I believe it's Imam al-Tabari's opinion as well. That washing the up to the ankles, this is a sunnah. It's recommended, it's not necessary. You only have to get your feet wet. And that can be with the wiping. But I think I might make some people angry with that one.
I mean, I just slipped in on that. Well, anyway, go ahead. It would make some people.
Yeah, so, because which is an interesting discussion. We'll get there because this next hadith we're taking, this is actually the hadith of Uthman radiallahu anh. So you have two very famous companions who are very famous for particular actions. One of them is Uthman radiallahu anh. He was very famous for the wudu of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you wanted to learn the prophetic wudu, you would learn from Uthman. If you wanted to learn the prophetic salah, you would learn from Wa'il ibn Hujr. Wa'il ibn Hujr. Yeah. So he has. I'm sorry. No. He was from the companions. He was a companion. So Uthman, very clear his description of wudu. Wa'il ibn Hujr, his description of the salah, and the hadith Mu'adh for the description of the hajj. Yeah, very like his hadith are the most famous on the subject. On the salah, on the sifat the salat the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on how he sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed, and we'll come to it inshallah. But that's something that's really important. No, not that I'm aware of. And like the thing is, even Uthman was the third Khalifa, right?
Yeah.
So you have a hadith starting to become more and more popular as time went on, right? Because there was more of a need for it. The companions, they would only narrate a hadith when they didn't know something, but in general, they had a good concept and grasp of Islam. An example of that is when Fatima radiallahu anha, alayhi salam, she came to Abu Bakr, and she was like, "Where's my father's inheritance?" And Abu Bakr, he responded saying that the Prophet ﷺ said that the Anbiya leave behind no inheritance. So, you know what I mean? Like, you'll have situations like that, but it's more of like a
reminder.
Not a reminder. Like, it's like, you know, when somebody doesn't, like, as a reaction to, right, to when one companion doesn't know. You have another hadith of where Umar radiallahu anh, you have Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, he knocked on his door, he waited, nobody answered. He knocked on his door, he waited, no one answered. He knocked on his door and he waited, nobody answered, so he left. So Umar, he came out and he saw him walking away. He was like, how come, why didn't you wait? Like, why didn't you, you know what I mean, why didn't you knock a little bit more? And he said, I heard the Prophet ﷺ said, al-istidhan thalath. He said that seeking permission to enter is 3 times. And if he doesn't answer, then you leave and don't be upset. So sometimes we get upset at the first one, right, when nobody answers. He's like, yeah, right. So it's like, you know, and the 3rd time, leave and don't be upset. So Umar, he said to him, he's like, he said, you better come back, and somebody needs to verify that the Prophet ﷺ actually said this. So he went to the Ansar, and he's like, man, Umar said he's going to have me publicly lashed if I don't go back and tell them about this hadith. So the Ansar, they started laughing, and they're like, here, take this boy. It was like a boy, like, take him with you.
Yeah, he knows it,
No, yeah, exactly. Like, even he knows this hadith, man. This is not something to be. So he went back and he told them, and he's like, okay, khalas. So like I said, for them narrating hadith, it wasn't like a normal thing. You had some who narrated a lot of hadith very quickly and very often, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh being from them, but that was more because of the students and, like, you know, the people who would listen to them. Some of the companions would go and listen to each other because they are. Ibn Abbas, very famously, he learned a hadith from the other companions. But we'll take this hadith of Uthman radiallahu anh describing the wudu of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam.
If I'm not mistaken, you have to be washed once before you wipe, right?
That's correct. So for this is all the madahib, right? Except for individuals who say that you have to wash your feet before you wipe. So
you have to have a full wudu.
You have to make a regular wudu. Then you put, and let's just go with the jumhur, and I put on my leather socks, right? Or I put on those socks where water cannot penetrate at all. Once I put those on, I make a regular wudu, but on the sock I will wipe over it. That's it. And my wudu is sound.
You said the water resistant socks?
Yeah, like water cannot penetrate.
Water cannot penetrate. If it doesn't.
Yeah, for most madahib, they'll be like, no, it's not accepted.
Not accepted.
Yeah. Except for Hanbalis, you know what I mean? We got it right. we made it easy on everyone. Oh man, I think I'm starting to get sick. Where was I? قال وحدثني أبو طاهر أحمد بن عمر بن عبد الله بن عمر بن صرح وحرملة ابن يحيى التجيبي قال حدثنا ابن وهب عن يونس عن ابن شهاب عن عطاء بن يزيد الليثي قال أخبره أن حمران مولى عثمان أخبره أن عثمان بن عفان رضي الله عنه دعا بوضوء. So over here, Humran, he was the servant for Uthman, and Uthman called him and he asked him to bring wudu. Wudu is the water to make wudu with. فَتَوَضَّأ, and then he began making wudu. فَغَسَلَ كَفَيْهِ ثَلَاثَ مَرَّاتٍ, he washed his hands 3 times. ثُمَّ مَضْمَضَ وَاسْتَنْثَرَ, then he rinsed the water in his mouth and out of his nose, and he blew it out of his nose. ثُمَّ غَسَلَ وَجْهُ ثَلَاثَ مَرَّاتٍ, then he washed his face 3 times. ثم غسل يده اليمنى إلى المرفق 3 مرات, then he washed his right hand until the elbow 3 times. ثم غسل يده اليسرى مثل ذلك, then he washed his left hand similar to that. ثم مسح برأسه, then he wiped over his head. ثم غسل رجله اليمنى إلى الكعبين 3 مرات, then he washed his right foot up to the ankles 3 times. ثم غسل اليسرى مثل ذلك, then he washed his left similar to that. ثم قال, then he said رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم توضأ له وضوء هذا, that I saw the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم making wudu like this. ثم قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, then the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said من توضأ له وضوء هذا, whoever has made a wudu like this. Now this is the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم speaking. ثم قام فركع ركعتين, and then stands and prays 2 rak'ah لا يحدث فيهما نفسه, that he doesn't busy himself or he doesn't speak to himself before praying those 2 rak'ah. During those 2 rak'ah. غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه, then all of his previous sins are forgiven. قال ابن شهاب, so Ibn Shihab, يعني Zuhri, he was one of the narrators of this hadith. He says وكان علماؤنا يقولون, and our scholars they would say هذا الوضوء أسبغ ما يتوضأ به أحد للصلاة, that this wudu, in this description, this is the most complete, or I would say the wettest is the actual translation, but the most complete wudu that an individual can make for the prayer.
Basically, most accurate.
Yeah, no, this is the best. Like this is the most complete wudu any individual can make to prepare for or to make for the prayer. So over here, it's very clear, right? So this is the wudu that we are all familiar with: washing your right hand first, then washing your left hand, or washing them together. Because over here he doesn't talk about separating between the left and right. Sorry, like I feel a sneeze coming on. It's just not coming.
I don't want any.
You don't want to sneeze? Allah Fastan. And then over here, ثُمَّ مَضْمَضَ وَاسْتَنْثَرَ, then he rinsed his mouth out and his nose. And over here, he radiallahu anh, he mentions them together. So he rinses his mouth out and he blows the water out of his nose. So istinthar is blowing the nose out, and I forgot what taking the water is. And dang. Istinshaq. Right, so istinthar is blowing it out, istinshaq is taking the water in, but if you're blowing it out, that means you had to have taken water in, right? So it's not like you're swallowing the water and it's coming through your nose. ثم غسل وجهه 3 مرات, and then he washes his face 3 times, then he washes his right hand. So it's the same word. Yad applies to up to the wrist, yad applies to up to the elbow, yad applies to up to the shoulder. So when he says he washed his hands up to the elbow, yes, I'm sorry. he washed his arms up to the elbow, right? And then that includes the hand, right? So you would wash your arm,
So my question
including
is,
the hand.
First, you have to wash your hand and then wash the foot, right?
Yes, correct. So a lot of the scholars, they say that initial washing of the hands, this is sunnah. This is sunnah. The rest of it is an obligation.
And the 3-3-3.
This is also sunnah. So then he washes his right arm, his left arm, and then after that he wipes his head.
Not
Yeah, so how this is described is wiping the head and behind the ears and in the ears as well, right?
and it ends behind, doesn't go
The
over.
nape, yeah. So it ends like at the beginning of the nape of the neck. So like the area where the hair doesn't normally grow. So it would stop here and then you just bring it up
And here also.
in the ear. And then after that, then he washes his right foot up to and including the ankles. Then he washes his left foot up to and including, again, similar to that. And then he says that I saw the Messenger of Allah, so I'm praying like this. And he said that an individual who makes this wudu and then stands and prays 2 rak'ah and he doesn't busy himself, like he stays focused in this prayer, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive him of all his previous sin.
Like a nafil it can be, or it can be the farz, or it can be the 2 rak'ah.
No, so Wallahu a'lam, this seems like this is 2 rak'ah for after an individual makes wudu. Yeah, so starting the wudu, Imam Nawawī, he mentions that this is a sunnah. Istansar, like istinthar and istinshaq, right? This is istinthar is blowing it out, istinshaq is taking it in. He also mentions that if I put water in my mouth, do I have to swirl it around or not? Yeah.
Some people, they like what is that? They make that.
Yeah. Oh, they gargle?
They go, is that?
So over here he says that فإن يجعل الماء فيه لا يشترط إدارته على المشهور الذي قاله الجمهور. So over here he says that the majority say that this is not a condition.
And some people also say you gotta take enough water that.
Yeah, that you get a headache. Right.
Exactly.
So the majority, they say that you don't have to swirl the water around. As for here, he also mentions like حكم المبالغة. He says ويستحب المبالغة في المضمضة والاستنشاق. So he says that over here, doing the excess, يستحب. It's recommended, right? It's recommended, meaning that what? It is not. It's not an obligation. And he says that. Okay.
Subject of the nose.
Yeah.
Can be just very light.
Yeah. It can be a light inhale.
Not even how just like for people like nose, like me and David.
You start bleeding like crazy. Yeah. I mean, as long as water reaches some of the nose, then your wudu is fine, inshallah. So over here he says here, قال أصحابنا, he says that the Shafi'is, they say وعلى أي سفت وصل الماء إلى الفم والأنف حصل المضمضة والاستنشاق. He says that in whatever way that water reaches the mouth or the nose, then this is considered a madmada and istinshaq. Meaning that you don't have to swirl the water around. You get a little bit of water and you split it out, and you have a little bit of water that reaches your nose, then this fulfills the obligation. And he says there are better ways to do this. There are better ways to do this, and he says that there are 5 better ways to do this. He says, firstly, is that يتمضمض ويستنشق بثلاث غرفات. So that ثم يستنشق منها. So okay, so he says here that you take a غرفة, like you take a handful of water and you bring it in. You take a little bit of water in your nose and a little bit in your nose, and he says that then you spit it out. He said that the second way of doing it is that okay, so he said that you take one handful of water, and you do your mouth 3 times, and then you do your nose 3 times. He said the third way, you take turns. So you do
Mouth and nose.
Your mouth and then nose, mouth and then nose. He said the fourth way is that you take 2 cupfuls of water. You took 2 handfuls of water, and with one you put it in your mouth, and then the second one you put in your nose, and you do this 3 times. And then he says that the 5th way is to separate them completely. Oh, okay, no. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is... it's like, there's different ways to do that. He says, but he thinks like this 5th way of separating them, separating between the nose. No, he's saying that this is weak. He said that it should be done together. It should be done together, yeah.
So meaning while you rinsing your mouth, you rinse your
You should rinse your nose at the same time, yes. So you take a little bit of water into your mouth, and the rest you take into your nose. It should be with one handful.
Doing separate is okay.
Yeah. He thinks it's weak, but you can do it. Okay, so and he says when it comes to rinsing the mouth and nose, if you do separate them, do I have to do one before the other? And he says that there's khilaf. Some of them they say yes, and some of them say it's recommended. And then washing 3 times. Washing once is a condition. Washing 3 times is sunnah. And wiping over the head.
Only once, right?
Yeah, so there are 2 opinions concerning this. You have Hanafis, Malikis, and the Hanbalis. They say that you only do the sunnah is 1 time. And then the Shafi'is, they say that because you have general hadith that talk about wiping, like by doing your wudu 3 times, that it's okay to wipe it 3 times, yeah. And that it should be done just like you do it for the rest of the parts of the body.
I remember taking this mask, but I think if you have even a hair on even if you have like some kind of even like
A hair fall off your head onto the shirt.
yeah, you gotta make wudu if I'm not listening.
Nice. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good.
So washing the face, the hands, and the feet, and that they completely, and this is something that is an obligation. This is Imam Nawawī, he says there's a ijma' on this. وَإِنْ فَرَضَتْ الرَّافِضَةِ. So he says that except the Shia, they say that the face and the hands are an obligation, but the feet are not, meaning that you can just wipe over them. And he says that this is a mistake because of so many of the texts, so many hadith that talk about washing them. There's also a difference of opinion on how much of the head needs to be wiped. So for the Shafi'is, they say even if you do it over like 1 hair, then your wudu, that's considered mas. The Malikis and the Hanbalis, they say that it has to be completely, and Abu Hanifa, he says that it has to be 1/4 of your head for it to be considered a mas. As for the obligation of madmada wa istinshaq, the Malikis and the Shafi'is, they say that the mouth and the nose is recommended, it is not a condition. And the second opinion is that they are an obligation, and that if an individual doesn't do it, that their wudu is invalid. The third opinion, that it's an obligation only during ghusl, not during wudu, and this is the opinion of Abu Hanifa. The fourth opinion is that
For the mouth and the nose,
yeah,
it's only ghusl.
for the Hanafis, yeah. And then the fourth opinion is that istinshaq is an obligation. Yani blowing out the nose or cleaning the nose is an obligation in wudu and ghusl, but madmada is a sunnah. And this is the madhab of Abu Thawr and Imam Abu Dawud al-Zahiri. So that's a unique opinion. So how should the water be? Like when you're how should the washing be? So it says over here, as long as the water runs over those parts, then it's fine. Meaning I don't have to rub. So the jamahir, the jumhur ulama, they say that the ka'bayn, or the ankles are an obligation. وَإِنْ فَرَضَ They are. Right, this is the vast majority of scholars. وَإِنْ فَرَضَ زُفَرْ وَدَاوُدْ الظَّاهِرِ بِقَوْلِهِمَا لَا يَجِبْ. So except for Zufar, which is one of Abu Hanifa's students, and Dawud al-Zahiri, who is from the, they took the nusus superficially. They said that these washing them is not an obligation. And the water reaching up to there is not an obligation. Wallahu alam. We'll finish discussing this hadith next time. We're out of time, unfortunately. Wallahu alam wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqin nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alaikum salam.
You respond back if there was no class. Always respond back?
There's class and there's Maghrib and Isha.
Not too bad.
Alaikum salam. That was good, man.
Not much, man. I took a nap like 12 an hour.
MashaAllah.
What it is. What you guys do?
Sleep at the right time, bro.
No, so in the morning I prayed Fajr. And then I went home, I couldn't sleep again. I laid down for like an hour. And I was just struggling to just keep going. I had to take a nap at like 5 p.m., man. I mean, I don't want to, man, but I gotta do what I gotta do.
Take what it comes, man.
Oh, yeah, I gotta do what I gotta do, man. I was planning to sleep for like 15, 20 minutes. It ended up being like
15-20 hours.
Is it 20 hours? No, I can't sleep that much. Even when I wasn't having any problems, I sleep like 6 hours, 7 hours average without any supplements or any caffeine and all that stuff.
That's all you need, right? 6, 7 hours.
I think everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Yeah. My friend, he needs like 9 hours of sleep average. I'm like, bro. My brother, he needs I think like 8 hours average. My parents, I guess like 5 hours, sometimes 4.